A big welcome to Dennis Gadias of Lusitana Sports to the non-league radio show. Hello, Dennis.
Hey, Stephen, how are you?
I'm fine. Before we get on to the club, I want to find a bit out about yourself and your background and how you got involved with the club.
Well, basically, I got first involved in the club when I first started playing for Lusitana Sports back in 1989. There was just one league back then, which was called LASA, Luso American Soccer Association. That was a league that was started in New Bedford, not New Bedford. It was started in, New Bedford, Massachusetts in 1973. Before that, there was the league called the Southern New England League, and a bunch of Portuguese immigrants wanted to got disenfranchised with the previous league that they were in. So they wanted to start something else, and they started a new league called LASA, which was in '73. And basically, there was tons and tons of teams, like over 30 to 40 teams in the Southern New England area, based out of Portuguese social clubs. And I started playing in 1989 when there was called Juvenes, Juniors, and Seniors. Juvenes was just U16s and Juniors was U18s. Back then, there was no such thing as U8s, U6, U10s, U12. So I was just 9 years old playing with a bunch of 15, 16-year-olds. But that was kind of like my first days in terms of being involved with the club, playing in the youth system. And then going forward, I started playing for the senior team when I was 17 years old. I was doing a transition of playing for the U18s, and I was playing for the men's team. That was back in '97 and '98 when the final days of LASA was happening. But back in the day, in its peak in the '70s and '80s and up until the mid '90s, we would have teams that would average about 1,000 to 1,500 to 2,000 fans per game, and we had many games, all-star teams that would play against teams from Portugal, such as FC Porto, Benfica, Sporting. For example, one story I can tell you is in 1983, LASA All-Star team played against Sporting in New Bedford at Sargent Field, and they ended up getting destroyed 7-1, especially by a 17-year-old left winger, Paulo Futre, who 4 years later would win Champions League with FC Porto, and when they beat Bayern Munich, and he went to go play on for Atletico Madrid. So that's how big the league used to be in terms of our community back then. When I said, when I first got started, you know, it was really the only league around, but it was huge back then.
So then how did things progress to Lusitana Sports from LASA?
Well, we were involved in that league, and I played all my youth and all my senior years up until when the league ended in 2000, and there was a variety of reasons why the league ended. So basically, as I got older in my mid 20s, I kind of like was no longer involved in soccer for a while. I was out for about 8 years, and then I came back and I was coaching the U18s. But then after that, it was just so many different leagues. I mean, Lusitana has been involved in so many different leagues because there's really been no stability in soccer over the past 20 years, because every 5 years there's like a new league. So now we're involved in the Bay State Soccer League, which is based out of Boston, Massachusetts. And we're very happy to be in that league because, like I said, it's the most stable league around. There's first division, second division, third division north, third division south. There's pro, and there's relegation as well. So as of right now, that's where we are right now. But LASA died, I would say, back in 2000.
So how many teams does Lusitana Sports have presently?
Well, we currently have one men's team. We're debating about having a second team. I don't know if something could happen this year, but we used to have a variety of youth teams as well, both boys and girls. That's no longer the case because they're affiliated now with Cumberland Youth Soccer Association. But I say, like, back in its heyday, we would have over like 15 teams in our club.
It's interesting to hear you talk about promotion and relegation because when I interview quite a few American teams, there's the big issue of non-promotion and non-relegation in some leagues. You can't go up or down, which I'm not used to here in the UK because you're going from bottom nearly all the way through the top. So that must mean that must be a big thing having promotion and relegation, I would guess.
Yes, and that makes the league that makes us wanting to play in the BSSL a league that we really want to play for because if you can't win, become in first place in your division, you can always have that opportunity to either fight for second or third place that can get you promoted to the next division, whether it's Division Two or Division One. And also there's a cup involved as well. And like I said, we're very happy that we're in the BSSL as of right now. And in my honest opinion, it's probably the best league around that we have here in New England.
And what sort of facilities do you have? Do you play different grounds for your home grounds, or do you have a home pitch?
No, we have our own home pitch called Lusitana Field. It's one of the very few clubs that actually have our own home pitch because basically we have a big social club. And then in back of our club, we actually have our own field. Our field was constructed in 1961. And basically that's where we practice and that's where we play our games. As of last year, we're investing a lot of money into the field because we're putting new lights. So basically we can do practices in the evening. So we're very fortunate in terms of having the infrastructure available and where I really don't need to rent fields, either from the local city or towns to do my games because I already have that at my disposal. And basically as we go forward, more investment has been happening towards the field. So now we could have more and more practices at night. And like I said, it saves a lot of time and it saves a lot of money for me as well. And we do get a huge amount of sponsors and a lot of support from our fans financially. So we are in a privileged situation compared to other clubs where they have to pay everything out of their own pocket in regards to renting fields for games and practices. But we don't have that problem at all.
Does the type of facilities you have impact going higher up the leagues? I know in England sometimes you've got to have certain standards of facilities before you can move up the divisions. Does that apply in where you play?
No, it doesn't apply because we've been involved in the league since 2018. So if we get promoted to D2 or D1 in the future, like we hope we will, there's not going to be any kind of problems. I mean, we do, for example, games. For example, some of our home games in the beginning of the season because the field is not ready, because there's a lot of work that needs to be happening in the month of March and the month of April. So, but that's only for like the month of April. So after that, everything in terms of our games will be played at our own home pitch.
And do you have much traveling? What's your furthest travel to an away game?
It's basically towards the Boston metropolitan area, which is about a 45-minute drive. Once you hit the Boston metro area, there's a lot of traffic, unfortunately, on 93 North, which is the main highway that goes through Boston. We've done a couple of games, for example, in northern Massachusetts, but 95% of the teams are located in the Boston metro area, so that it's basically right around that area.
I want to get on to sort of the team. If you want to tell a little about the structure of the management team and your coaches.
Well, we have one coach, Rafał Morawski. He's originally from Poland. He immigrated here in the early 2000s, and when he first moved to America, his first club that he played for was Lusitana in the seniors team, and then he went back to England, played third division over there, and then he came back here and became coaches of various youth clubs, and he's currently an assistant coach for the CCRI, which is the Community College of Rhode Island. And he's also involved as one of the coaches for the New England Revolution Academy. So that's our main coach, and he makes all the decisions in terms of practices and games. And I'm just the president. I'm the person that runs the day-to-day operations, or more the operations of behind the scenes.
So he's done some travelling there. He's went to the States, he's come back to England to play, then he's went back to the States. That's that's some going.
Mm-hmm. No, he has a family, he has a wife, has a family, so he's situated here in America, and he does a really good job coaching.
Another thing I want to touch on, you mentioned earlier, was the fans. You get a lot of support from your fans. So what sort of spectators do we get on a match day?
Well, as of right now, times have changed. I mean, back in the day, we used to average 2,000 people per games. That was before all the soccer games, in particular from Portugal, were given on television. Now, times have changed. We're talking about maybe like a couple of hundred people to our games.
That's still good
The thing
going.
is,
That's still good.
it's still good, but like I said, if you were around during the heyday, it would be easily 2 to 3 thousand people packed. I mean, we have the club, for example, is about like 10 steps away from our pitch, so our bar is over there, and then during the weekend we have our halls rented for people wanting to do weddings or showers or graduation parties. So we get a lot of fans. So anytime that we have a game, there may very well be 500 to 600 people in our club because it is a Portuguese social club. And once we do our games on Saturdays, usually at 4:30 in the p.m., we do get a lot of fans coming to our games.
I was going to mention that because obviously the States is huge. And different weather systems. Does you get affected by the weather or the temperature too much for your games? I know some teams have got to play most of the games at night because of the soaring temperatures. I don't know what it's like where you are.
Well, in the month of April, I mean, it's not a bad temperature, but it's not relatively warm. In the month of May and June, that's when things really start heating up, and it's a very pleasant temperature. And other than that, we really have never had any kind of issues in terms of weather. The only issue that we may have with weather is, for example, if we get loads and loads of rain, that may affect the pitch. But other than that, I mean, it's a grass pitch. So other than that, we really don't have any issues with weather. I mean, for example, I remember in 2018 when we were in promotional battle to get promoted from D3 to D2. It was extreme cold weather. It was like the week before Thanksgiving, which is like around the third week of November. Other than that, we've really never had any kind of issues with weather. I mean, the only issues may arise is heavy rain, but other than that, we really don't never had any kind of issues.
So how many guys make up your first team squad? Do you have is it a set number you're allowed? Is it 25 or 30? I'm not sure what you would be allowed.
Well, we're allowed to have 40 guys on the roster, but usually when it comes to game time, only about, I would say, about 19 to 20 guys will dress up for the game. I think this year we're going to be a lot more focused, and because we ended up getting a bunch of new guys, new players in the second half of last year's season, so we're really looking forward to this season. But in terms of our games, we're probably going to be bringing about 18 to 20 players every single game. In terms of a second team, it's something that we're thinking about, and that's probably the way to go in the future. But our main focus this year is being champions of our division, or actually being promoted to the next division. So that's where our focus is at this moment.
So where's Lusitana Sports in the league division and in your little pyramid that you have?
Well, right now we're in Division 3 South. We when we first joined in 2018, we were in Division 3 South, and then we finished in second place, and we went to promotional relegation, and we ended up winning 2-0 in an aggregate in 2 games, and we ended up getting promoted to D2. And then COVID hit in 2020, and then in 2021 in the fall, we couldn't really participate in the BSSO because we played in the league in that summer, and a bunch of my players got serious injuries, and a bunch of my players had to go to college, so we really couldn't have a squad for the fall 2021 season. So unfortunately, they had to relegate us back to D3. So that's our situation right now. But I think that if everything goes well and my expectations, I see no reason why we can't be at least the champions for the division this year, or a minimum reach second place to go fight for the pro relegation battle in November.
Yeah, I was just going to ask about that. So the top team must get automatic promotion. Then does the second place team play against another second place team or someone from the higher league who's finished second bottom?
Well, in our division, the first place team is automatically promoted to D2, and then the second place team will automatically go into promotional relegation matches, two matches with a team from D2 who is not trying to be relegated back to D3.
Right.
So that process will happen I think, the second and third week of November.
And is there a big difference in standard between the league above? Because I'm just guessing if someone finishes second, it may be a tough ask to try and beat, even though the other team may be near the bottom of the league above. If that's a bigger standard, it's going to be a tough ask to try and turn that team over.
In 2018, when we did that, we really didn't have any kind of issues in terms of beating the other team. I mean, the competition is a little bit more harder in D2, but from what I've seen, D3 is no joke. So I don't I don't think there's that much of a difference. But like I said, I think that if we do end up in second place this year, and if we do end up in a situation where we have to fight for promotion, I think that we should be fine because we do have a high quality of players right now, and with Rafa being the coach, who's very knows the game very well, I don't think we should have any problems. To be honest, the thing is, I think we're just going to amp up our practices. Instead of practicing once a week, probably practice twice a week, and we're going to start our preseason this week. So I'm very excited, and this year, and hopefully we can achieve our accomplishments like we should.
Yeah, I was going to touch on that about the training. So you guys train once a week at the minute, but you're looking to maybe up to twice a week.
Yeah, basically, we're probably going to think about because every single week we practice on Thursdays, like between 7 to 7:30, and then we'll practice until like 9 o'clock. And then we have our own social club. So basically, we have our own bar, big bar actually, and the socialization aspect is very important as well. So we'll be there until midnight, and just hanging out like we used to. And but I think we're going to start implementing as the season progresses, probably in the month of May or late April, maybe doing Tuesdays and Thursdays.
And a lot of the guys who play, I'm guessing, be students, people who work shifts, 9 to 5 jobs, and then play football on the weekend.
Yeah, for the most case, everyone is like a Monday through Friday in terms of their jobs. Some of them do work weekends. Some of my players own their own businesses, but I think 7 o'clock, 7:30, the later the better, is a really good time for us in terms of training. And like I said, we're very fortunate that the club has invested a lot of money in terms of putting new lights in our pitch so we can actually practice and have everyone show up at practice. Like I said, starting at either 7 or 7:30, once or twice a week.
I'm just looking on Twitter at Lusitana Sports, and there's lots of historical pictures up there of teams from the past, and it looks like it's like from looking at the fans in the background, big community spirit, a lot of fun. I'm just trying to see if I can spot you in any of these pictures.
I'm not in any of those pictures. I do have a lot of pictures of myself, for example, when we were champions in 94, 95, and 96 in the youth teams. I do have a lot of videos from the old days where I have a video is at least 1,500 people at the game. And then there used to be a program based out of New Bedford on the Portuguese channel called LASA Sports, where they used to do a weekly program where they were going to various fields and interview all the players, all the coaches. And I actually do have a lot of those videos. I actually do have, some of the pictures on Twitter when the Portuguese national team actually visited our area in 92 because they were involved in this tournament called the US Cup, and where it was the national teams of the United States, Ireland, Portugal, and Italy. And on the second game of that tournament, Portugal did play against Ireland at the old Foxborough Stadium where the New England Patriots used to play. And they did a practice at one of the various clubs that used to be in the LASA called Lusitana Sports. They actually have a very beautiful pitch. That used to be the final for all the Cup and Super Cup finals for all the men's teams and also the youth teams. And they did a practice over there back in 1992, and I was about 12 years old, so I was taking a bunch of pictures and I posted them on a Twitter page. But they had players like Luis Figo over there and Vitor Bahia and João Vieira Pinto and George Cadet. So not too many people actually have those pictures and videos like I do. But that's when soccer was really huge in our area. It's still huge, but it's not like what it used to be.
Great stuff. It's been excellent talking to you, Dennis. I don't know if there's anybody you want to give a shout out or anything that's going on that you want to give a shout out to.
I just want to thank the BSSL for being involved in their league, and also the league president Damien, who I think is doing a great job. And just give a shout out to all my players and to all my coaches. Well, Rafa especially, and just check us out this year, because I think we're going to live up to our expectations like we need to, and I think that good things are going to happen this year.
Great stuff. Well, many thanks for coming on the show.
All right, Steve. Take care.
Cheers.